Hello and welcome to the Turtle Tracks podcast. I'm your host, Brian VanHooker, and I'm here today with Chris Fawcett, the author of a book called Rad Plastic, which is brand new out from Chris, and it is all about the classic Turtles line. Honestly, it's a fantastic book, and I just couldn't wait to talk to you about it, Chris. So thanks so much for being here.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Brian. I'm happy to be on and happy to talk to you about it.
Yeah, so for those who aren't familiar with this, and you absolutely should be, it's a book that's... How many pages is this? I'm sorry, I should have known that.
It's 400.
400 pages, and all about the Classics Turtle line, everything from the very beginning up until Next Mutation, and before that break, before the 2003 series. And it is just a fantastic, thorough book about the toy line and also a ton of toys that were never made. So just a great work of passion that's just beautifully put together. So yeah, if you don't have it already, please check it out because it's great. But I guess for you, Chris, what motivated you to make this book? I mean, where did it come from?
Well, really, it wasn't even on purpose. It was kind of accidental. I've been a toy collector for more than 2 decades now. And I generally sort of gravitated to some of the prototype and pre-production pieces, partially because I just have sort of a love for the artistry of those at that stage. You're really looking at true artists, painters that did packaging designs, or sculptors that, could sculpt things, amazing figures and shapes, and even engineers. I'm an engineer myself. So even engineering wise, the creativity of some, unique or interesting mechanism in a toy. And so I kind of gravitated towards that. And just in the course of my pursuit of those type of things for some other lines I collect, I just happened to stumble across a pretty substantial amount of Ninja Turtle stuff, so much so that I thought maybe I could do a book. And at the time I was thinking, maybe 100, 150 pages. And I decided, well, if I'm going to do this, I probably need more than what I initially had. So I'm like, I'm going to do more research. I'm going to try and find people, talk to people, see if I can go to Playmates headquarters, which I did get to do at one point. Try and find as many of the artists that worked on this as possible and see what other content I could discover. So that led to about a almost 3-year journey, finding other people, visiting them, seeing the interesting things they had, taking photos, getting the stories. And so, it kind of spurred off of that one initial sort of accidental find of some Ninja Turtles ephemera. And I just decided from there, it needed to be a book, because the stuff I was finding was so cool. I didn't want to keep it to myself. And, I thought about a webpage, but I was like, webpage is nice, but I don't know. For me, there's just something about a nice hardcover coffee table size thing that you can flip through that just is really compelling for me. And like, I buy so many of those books. I got stacks and stacks of coffee tables kind of books, the art of pick your movie, those kind of things. I have tons of those. So I decided I wanted to do a book rather than just a website. And so that was sort of the genesis of it.
Honestly, and it's the product of it is so cool. And you learn a ton about how toys are put together. Like, I've talked to a number of the toy makers of the line for this podcast, and I never had such a clear picture of what the process was like, especially in the analog days, as far as how these things are put together. So it's a really cool education part of it too, which I liked.
Yeah, and I'm a former toy engineer from the industry. So
cool.
That's part of what I think made it perfect for me to write sort of the kind of book I wrote. It's not just an encyclopedia or an index or a visual guide, say, to production toys. That's not what my book is. As you said, there's a lot of information in there about how the toys are made and things like that. So, having that background in the toy industry and understanding the whole process, both from my job and from talking to all the people I talked to, because there were some things I didn't know much about, like printing, for example, was not something I had ever really learned about. So I had to learn some things about how printing worked and from some of the people I talked to. But still, coming from the technical background, as they're describing it, I could envision it and understand it and really have try to translate that into something a casual reader could understand. And hopefully I've accomplished that. It's always a little difficult as someone who is like in it so deep that it, like as an engineer from the toy industry, to go, am I really making this digestible by the common fan, or is it too in my own head, of the technical terms that I understand, but like maybe not everybody would. So hopefully it came across well, and even a non-technical casual fan that's not an engineer can understand the process pretty well.
No, I'm a non-technical fan who gets very lost in any sort of textbook style definition of anything because of an alarmingly short attention span for something. So no, it's super clear and comprehensive and not alienating for those who don't kind of get the tech stuff. So I really appreciated kind of understanding the whole process because there were more steps than I realized that they were part of it. So.
Yeah, and a lot of people think it's just like, oh, somebody makes a sculpt and then they make a mold and then they're making parts, and it's like it's so much more involved in that than that. And and there's all kinds of marketing things involved too. A lot of people that collect toys know of the annual Toy Fair event in New York City, just because a lot of times you get press releases about the new stuff coming out next year. So a lot of toy collectors have discovered that thing exists, but maybe what they don't know is like by the time you're going to Toy Fair, there are no toys yet, really. Like most of the stuff that's being shown there on display on those tables and in those booths are not final product because it's not ready yet. Sometimes they haven't even decided if they're going to make it because they use Toy Fair as sort of a gauge of interest. And so a lot of times things will get canceled after that. So at that point in time, they haven't put out the massive expense that it takes to do the part of the process to actually make this thing in plastic, which is a major expense for the toy companies to do. So at that point in time, it's just it's all handmade stuff. So
I was impressed because and I'm pretty adept on my turtle knowledge, I think. But there was some stuff that I just didn't know. Like I was super surprised to find out a guy named John Handy from Playmates was the guy who suggested the different color masks and the letters and the belts. I don't know why I always thought it was David Wise from the cartoon, but
well, a lot of that stuff. I think there were definitely some things in that time era where everybody was sort of working on the genesis of how do we turn this from kind of a dark comic into a kid's property. And honestly, I've heard some stories about a couple people said they came up with this, and oh no, I came up with that. And I honestly believe that like either multiple people were in the room at the time or independently people might have come up with these things. I mean, it's not too hard to think, well, how do we distinguish the turtles from one another? Let's make their masks a different color. Yeah. I could easily see that maybe 2 or 3 people independently had that idea. And, so who was the first? I don't know. But, John Handy was definitely heavily involved in that first year of toys and really converting that thing from the comic book property into the toy property that it is. So he was pretty instrumental. There's, 4 or 5 people that were there early on that I think made that thing work, that without them, it may not have been what it was. John Handy being one, Carl Ronian from Playmates, Mark Taylor also of He-Man fame had a big say in it, or the big design input at the beginning of it. So he was a big part of it as well. I didn't get to talk to him, unfortunately, for the book. So there's not a whole lot about him in there, but there are some of his original design sketches in there that I was able to find.
Oh, were you able to talk to Handy? I forget. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was able to talk to him. I went and visited him. He runs a fantastic little, I wouldn't even call it a hotel. It's like a yurt camp up in Big Sur in California. And
oh, cool.
Man, if you ever want to just drive up that highway between LA and San Francisco and stop for the night and stay in a yurt, his place is pretty awesome. It's called Tree Bones. So
nice.
Yeah, it's like maybe it could be, like some people visit the town here in North Carolina where they filmed some of the movie. Like maybe John Handy's yurt could be the next like TMNT place to visit.
Yeah, right. There's a ton of history coming from that.
Yeah, go stay in the yurt. You can talk to one of the guys who worked on the line. It'd be fun.
That's so cool. And like, who else? I mean, I know you talked to a lot of people, and I can't expect you to name them all. But who were some of the other people that were cool to talk to for this?
Well, the sculptors, Scott Hensey, as you mentioned, and Steve Varner. Yeah, those 2 studios did so much of the sculpting work. I would guess that probably 90% plus of the sculpting work was done by them, or at least went through them. At times they got so busy that they would outsource it to independent sculptors they knew that didn't actually work at their studio. So there were several people I talked to who was like, yeah, I did that thing, but I did it through Varner. I did it through Anaglyph. So those 2 were major people to talk to and get the stories and also some great photographs and things that they had. So as far as, Carl Aronian at Playmates was fantastic and really important to talk to. He had a time where he wasn't at Playmates, but he's back there now. And like Ninja Turtles has been almost his whole career, except for a little stint at, I think he did a little stint at DreamWorks Toys or something. Like DreamWorks was trying to do some stuff, but so he was great, really early in the line. And those were probably the big ones I really, really wanted to get to and talk to. But I probably talked to well over 100 people. I think I visited in person probably more than 50 at this point.
Wow.
For the book. So everything from, packaging artists to packaging layout people, sculptors, like I said, engineers, marketing people from Playmates. Just you name it. Like anybody I could find, I tried to track down and talk to them.
That's great. That's so cool. What else did I want to talk? So there's so many things that I wanted to mention, especially with unreleased toys. Before I get to that though, one super cool thing I had no idea about was that early on in the line, there was talk about the first Turtles having action features that would show up later, like the head dropping and other stuff like that.
Yeah.
That shocked the hell out of me. I had no idea.
Yeah, those ideas were pretty early. I think they did do them just because at that first year, they weren't sure how successful it was going to be. So they wanted to really limit their financial outlay. There was going to be, originally they had planned a lot more play sets, and that got cut down as well in year one. And so those ideas got nixed, I think, mostly for budgetary reasons in year one. But obviously they came back later, right? I mean, the head dropping happened, that the what's it called? Smash and Bash line with the little trigger gun.
The little green gun, yeah.
Yeah, that was clearly on concept sketches in like 1987. So
that's crazy. That one surprised me more, the head dropping, because those came out way later, like 92 or something.
Yeah, they were much later. So yeah, clearly some of those ideas were revitalized and reused for later lines. So once the line was successful, now they could they knew they could afford to put some more expense into it and make those figures with those features. So
thank God they did though. Because I like those particular toys because I'm nostalgic for everything Turtles, but action features always lessened a toy for me every time.
Yeah.
They always limited how you could play with them. Like, I don't know, the stupid tricks they would do. Like, it was always better to just have a toy. And you wanted with it.
They were like one-trick ponies usually.
Yeah,
they did one thing, and that's all they could really do. And that was cool for about 10 minutes as a kid. And then you're like, I can't do anything else with this now.
Yeah, exactly. Like the head dropping was cool because it's still a regular toy and they could just do one thing. That was fine. But like some of those action features, like the swimming Donatello, I never played with that toy. It's cool, but I never played with it. So.
Yeah.
I'm curious. So like, there's so many different things, like crazy, weird ideas. Like, can you explain what the face was in the super layer? Because that is the most insane, thank God they didn't do it idea.
Yeah, it was weird. Yeah, so some of the early sketches, I'll explain a little bit for the people listening that may not have the book. Some of the early sketches of a playset had like this giant, almost godlike looking face, like imagine like Zeus almost, right? That was basically the whole height of the playset. So like one story tall face.
Yeah.
And the idea, and I'm not sure why they went this way. I never did get a clear reasoning, but the idea was that the Turtles would have some kind of mentor or something. And maybe it's only in retrospect that this seems obvious, but isn't Splinter the mentor?
Yeah.
And, but maybe back then when it first started, maybe that Splinter character wasn't really seen like the mentor that we see Splinter as today. And so it maybe seems obvious now, but it wasn't quite as obvious then. But they wanted like a spirit guide, almost like someone to, help them, send them on their missions, help them with, whatever problems that they might have, like a mentor would.
Yeah.
So I think they eventually either realized or just decided that, hey, that could probably be Splinter. And this big face on a wall thing is a little bit weird.
Yeah.
And they nixed that.
There was some, like most of the unmade things, I'm like, oh, that's too bad, right? Like
Yeah.
Maybe my favorite, or certainly among them, is the transforming party wagon, right? Like, how the hell they never made that is just so upsetting to me. And that's one of the ones I've always known about. So it's always kind of like upsetting that they never made it. But like,
yeah, that one's in the Toy Fair catalog. So some fans that maybe have seen pictures of those, there have been some people that have scanned those and put them online for a while now. But yeah, I was able to get a nice big picture in the book. So I think that's probably the best rendition of that you'll find anywhere.
That would have been such a great toy too, because it looks good. Like, it genuinely looks like a really good Transformer.
Yeah.
So, but some, like, you feel like they dodged a bullet. Like, all the early villains before Bebop and Rocksteady were conceived were terrible, terrible villains.
Yeah, they had this idea early on that they were going to do, all the good guys were going to be the mutant animals and the bad guys were all going to be humans.
Sure.
And that was the sort of the initial concept, and that's why they came up with all these different villain ideas. And then I think it was David Weiss potentially that maybe suggested, or maybe it was, no, I think it was actually the guy at the cartoon studio suggested that, hey, it would be great for the cartoon if the bad guys were all mutant animals too, because that's way more interesting and compelling for cartoon storylines than having humans as bad guys. So I think it was those guys at I can't remember the studio name off the top of my head.
McCarty Wolf Swenson?
Pardon me?
Fred Wolf Studios?
Yeah, Fred Wolf Studios. I think it was Fred Wolf himself that may have, I think he's passed on now. I wasn't able to talk to him, but Fred Wolf made the suggestion of doing the bad guys as mutants. And then, even early on, Peter Laird had drawn like a really early Rocksteady in one of the early pitch meetings for the Turtles. And so I think when they came up with that idea, Laird and Eastman went back to some of their sketches they had been doing and go, well, which one of these do we like? And they definitely pulled the Rocksteady out of that. And then my understanding is that David Weiss kind of named them. He was the one that came up with the names for the two. I'm not sure who came up with the original Bebop, but I'm pretty sure the Rocksteady was a Laird design that was earlier, even before they maybe thought of doing the mutant animals.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know. I knew that big-headed Rocksteady was early on in the line. I couldn't remember. I didn't remember where he came from as a character. And those early villains are like a carpenter, a sportsman, a plumber. Like, they're just terrible. Like, I would have bought those toys. Like, the whole line would have failed.
Yeah, who would want a plumber with or a guy with a chainsaw for a hand? I mean, it's kind of cool, but when I could have a mutant turtle and Shredder as a bad guy is way cooler than those. Right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, there's also a lot of plushes that were. I was surprised at how many plushes were. I guess I thought up and then not put out. Donatello in a farmer hat. For some reason, Donatello seems to be a farmer a lot. Donatello in a farmer hat, and there are these transforming plushes that turn from a turtle to like a baby turtle. So cool things that never made it to shelves. Yeah,
that little Mutations plush, I don't know how that never went anywhere. That's just a fantastic idea. It's it turns inside out. I mean, they made a whole entire. How long did that Mutations line in the toys go on? 4 or 5 years, and yet there's this plush that's like that plush is probably better than any of the Mutations figures, honestly, and it's the one that didn't get made. So but man, the Rocksteady and the Bebop plushes are so
they look great.
Yes. They look fantastic. So I guess it was just the line didn't sell that well. Obviously, they prototyped a bunch of them up. I was extremely fortunate. There's pictures of those in the Toy Fair catalog, but they're fairly small. And I was extremely fortunate, rather late in the process, to find the photographer of those pictures, and he had high-res scans, and I was like, oh my God, this is fantastic. I can get a really nice picture of these plushes in here, because now I've got a 4K scan of his negative. So that worked out really, really well that I was able to find that guy. So I didn't know his name or anything. I just was contacting people that I was told did photography, and he said, oh yeah, I've got some scans, I'll send them over. And he sent them, and I'm start looking through them. I'm like, oh my God, here's the plushes. This is awesome.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
I was able to
there was a couple different designs for a Splinter that were just great Splinter plushes, and they never saw the light of day.
Yeah. Yeah. Most of those don't exist anymore that I know of. The photos that are in the book are mostly from the photographer is just his archives. The Mutations one does exist, and there is one Splinter one with a white coat, not the purple fuchsia coat that's in the catalog. But there's one Splinter and the Mutations one that do still exist. They're still around.
I'd be shocked to find out that like Bebop and Rocksteady and things like that. I mean, I guess, I don't know. I have ones from a couple of years later that are still look okay, but I just would be amazed, if it still existed somewhere. Yeah,
I've man, those are like, as far as like my own personal collection, those plushes are really high on the list of, I hope they turn up someday or somebody finds them or something, because those would be that's pretty high on my grail list, let's say, for my own personal collection, to be able to get a couple of those. So
well, let me ask you, what was what was like the thing that maybe surprised you the most that still existed today?
Surprised me the most that still existed. It would, I think, without a doubt, and it's not a surprise that it sort of still existed, surprise that it existed at all, was the Warriors of the Forgotten Sewer elf. Because that thing, the Warriors of Forgotten Sewer, the 4 unreleased ones, it's kind of 3.5, because it's 3 new figures and 1 repaint of a figure went unreleased. So there's the Knight Mike, the Wizard Splinter, and the War Cat, and then they were going to repaint the Savage Leo in a different paint scheme and package it as a 2-pack with the War Cat. Right. So they're kind of 3, kind of 4 figures unreleased for that line. But very early on, I was turning up lots of concept art because I got some of the sculpting studios were the easiest ones to people to find. And so as I started talking to them and I started getting more and more art, I saw lots of sketches of other figures for the Forgotten Sewer line, including like a generic warrior and the Dark Knight, Black Knight Shredder, which is in the comic. There were design sketches. And then one was for an elf. And I actually talked to, I actually found with a marketing person at Playmates an early version of the comic book, and that was like just really rough sketches. And that whole series of rough sketches is in the book. That's so great. If you want to look up there, but the early story had the 4th turtle, because everybody's like, well, where's Raphael? Why is there 3 of the turtles are in the comic, but Raphael's not in the comic? It seemed weird. And so I was like, well, they literally wrote him out of the comic pretty early, because that was like a draft and the story's completely different. And then like the next draft, there is no elf character. So I found a couple sketches of an elf that one of the guys at one of the studios did. And so I thought for sure that was as far as it went. I had not heard any rumors of any 3D sculpt being made. I had not seen any evidence that it went to 3D. None of the sculpting guys had any sculpts of it or hard copies of it or anything. So I'm like, okay, clearly this was one like the Shredder and the others that just never even went to sculpting. And then there was this one guy that was really, really hard to get a hold of. And I actually had to get a hold of him through another guy that worked with him that I got to be friends with. And when I finally got him on the phone after trying for probably 6 or 8 months to contact him, I asked him, like, do you have anything that'd be interesting for the book? He's like, oh yeah, I have one figure that it was never made, because I only took it to the step of making the clay, and that's as far as it went. And then I stopped because it got canceled, and I kept that one. And he's like, and I'm like, oh, well, what is it? He's like, it's like an elf figure, I think. And my jaw just dropped. I remember I was like calling him from work over my lunch hour. I remember exactly where I was at when he said that. I'm like, oh my God, you have the elf figure from the Warriors of... he's like, yeah, it's an elf figure. And I'm like, you can't believe how excited I am to see photos of that. Like, how excited I am to put that in the book. It was hard for me just to not tell anybody for like 1.5 years that I had found it. Like, I was just like, I'm not telling, because this has got to be a surprise for the book. I'm not telling anybody.
Yeah.
And so that was probably the most shocking thing that I turned up, that I'm like, I cannot believe this exists, because there was no evidence. And it was literally like, this guy was starting the sculpting. He probably worked on it for maybe a week, and then they canceled it, and he just put it in a box and took it home. So there was no evidence anywhere that existed except with him.
Oh, so, wow.
Yeah, that was probably the most shocking and fun too, because I really love that line. That's like one of my favorite sublines. So to find out that there was an elf that was at least partially went to 3D, it was pretty shocking.
Lines like that as a kid always drove me crazy when there was like not all 4 turtles. Like,
yeah,
that wasn't even the worst one because I could handle 2, but when there was 3 and not a 4,
not the fourth,
would boggle my mind. Like, do you know why that ever happened? Like in certain lines, like the Jim Lee line, and there's the birthday party line. There's other ones that just like there's no 4th turtle, and
I mean, I never got any real good solid answers for any of them. I mean, it's likely just that for a variety of reasons they decided they were only going to do 3 figures, and so they decided to drop one. I mean, it could be anything from they only had the budget to tool up 3 of them. It could be that the master cartons they were going to pack them in could only fit X number of figures, and they didn't have room for the 4th, and they didn't want to go to a bigger carton because then the shipping goes up. I mean, there's all kinds of things that can come into play there, right? So yeah, I don't have any solid answers on any of the lines, but it's mainly just chalk it up to business decisions, financial business decisions that had to be made. That sometimes they didn't do all of them.
There's also like a number of times where we got a Bebop, but not a Rocksteady. More often we got a Bebop and not a Rocksteady. And I think it's twice the other way. And that always drove me crazy.
Yeah.
Guessing that's more the same, like, we just only have money for 2 bad guys. So let's do Shredder.
Yeah, exactly. So, they just had to make those business calls sometimes. Or, it could be just timing reasons as well. Like, hey, we got 3D sculpted, but we don't have time for the 4th one. So let's just run with it. Like, there could be stuff like that. I like I said, I didn't get any. I don't think anybody really has solid recollections from 30 years ago of the exact reason like the 4th one wasn't made. Yeah. But generally the answers I got were all, those are just business decisions that get made and, for budget or for cost or for whatever. And we ended up nixing one of them. So, but for the birthday ones, I don't even recall if I've seen any concept art for the 4th one, honestly.
No, I didn't. Yeah, it was something in the book about, and that was one that seemed like, 3's good from the start, but like, surely something for Donatello could have been listed. Yeah. That was when they were getting towards the end anyway, though, and I think they were starting to run out of ideas. Yeah. Let's see. One of the coolest things that was cut that I was just astounded at the details of it was that giant sewer, like the crazy.
Oh, the movie too.
Yes, that was amazing.
Yeah, that thing was. I'm sure that was cut because it would cost too much.
Of course, yeah.
Pretty positive that would be why. Just as my background as in the toy industry, I'm going. Yeah, I don't even know how they made it that far with that thing because there's no way anybody that even looked at concept sketches would go, yeah, we can make this at a good cost. It's just so crazy insane. But that was. There's a lot of stuff in the book that's literally just file photography, I call it, photos that were taken at the time. And I was able to find quite a bit of those. 2 sources especially had stacks and stacks of those type of photos. And so like I have so many that didn't make the book as far as that kind of stuff goes with these photos of prototypes. So I picked the ones that were definitely most interesting. And that one was by far my favorite of all the file photography I found. And I put every single photo I had of it in the book. I was like, this has got to go in there because it's just so great. And it is too bad that never got made. We did get some large play sets though, eventually with Ninja Turtles further down the line, but nothing still as big as that. Like even the big ones they're making today, I think that thing was probably 3 times the size of those big ones that, came out in the last 5 years.
Oh yeah, it's huge. And it's so cool. Like it would be a great display piece too. Like that was the thing that would it was so it was just like so many little facets to it, street level, and all, like the subway car, all these other things that could have been in there that were.
Yeah, I wish there were a picture of the other side. I wanted to see what they were thinking for the back.
Oh yeah, true.
Does it look like does it look like a New York City street? Obviously, the outside's like the city buildings and the inside's the sewer. But there's no pictures that I had of the backside of it, so I don't really know.
Yeah, like even bigger playsets at the time, like I don't know, like Castle Grayskull or stuff like closed up, right? Like that.
Yeah, and that one might have closed up too. It's hard to tell. It's possible that the 2 sides could have folded in because they look like the 2 sides look like they're a little shorter than the middle section. So it might have folded up. So or maybe that was their intent, even if the prototype didn't technically do that. But yeah, that's a pretty cool thing to throw in there. That's another one I showed that around a little bit when I first saw those, but I'm like, I'm going to stop showing these pictures on and keep it a surprise, because I wanted there to be some things that, I mean, obviously, if you're not like heavily involved in maybe some of the Facebook groups where I was posting a few things where I found them, a lot of this stuff is all brand new to you. But for even those people that I was like, interacting with a lot online and showing things to, I wanted there to be surprises in this book where they go, holy crap, like, how long have you known that was out there and you didn't show me? Like, yeah, that was a surprise. I was holding it back. So I wanted to be those oh crap moments where you turn the page and you're just like, I just can't even believe what I'm looking at right here. Like, I wanted some pages like that.
Oh yeah, like there's even little things like early on the Ace Duck art had like 2 different hats, which makes a lot of sense because otherwise it probably would have been molded on like most of the other characters were.
Yeah,
was one thing. Or like Murdude had a cool mustache for the longest time and then it just dropped.
Yeah, that went all the way to tooling, which is so weird. I'm like, it's just strange.
Yeah. The battleships were also very cool, I thought.
That was literally the last thing I found to put in the book.
Really?
I found those like, I think 2 weeks before I had to submit it. And I went to Chance, the designer. I'm like, Chance, like, I need you to move like 12 pages for me. And if you look at the book, moving a page is not easy because in the upper corners are the year guides, right?
Sure.
So if you switch a page from odd to even, the page guide has to flip to the other side of the page and everything has to shift around.
Sure.
So it's like for him to move like 12 pages and shift everything one page was just like, yeah, I need you to do this. And I'm going to take this out and add this whole new page here. And he's the champ. He did it. Like, I can't give Chance enough credit, man. He just, I mean, I kind of, when you start something like this, you kind of have an idea in your head of what you want it to be. And you maybe can't articulate it exactly, but when you see it that it's what you want. Sure. And I'll tell you, like, I've done lots of various projects of this kind of nature, creative in nature, and there's usually something that's like, man, that's really great. It's like there's a couple little things that bug me about it, not quite exactly spot on with my sort of like ideal thing I had in my back of my brain, but man, sure. The design of this book is 100% perfect in my mind. Like,
it looks great. It really does.
He just did such a great job, and everything about the design I absolutely love. So I'm like, I wouldn't change a single thing about the design.
And basing it on the van too was a smart move, because I'm guessing you couldn't call it anything on the cover, right? Yeah,
I had to keep away from the official logos, other than if they appeared in a photograph of like a toy. That was fine. Sure. But yeah, that was Chance's idea too, that cover. I knew from the very beginning I wanted the book to be square because I knew I wanted to put multiple figures on one page, and going 8.5 by 11 was going to really make things tight. Sure. So I wanted a square book, and we decided on 11 by 11 because then I could stand under like the 12-inch shipping containers, and that cool. Gives you some benefits. And so, yeah. And when we'd gone through a lot of different cover designs. I had prototyped some with my horrible Photoshop skills just to get an idea across. I had some friends do sketches and stuff. Chance did a few. And then I don't know where he got the idea, but one day he says, why don't we make it like the front of the van? And I'm like, that sounds like a great idea. He's like, why don't you go do that? And he went, and the first time I saw it, I'm like, oh my God, that's it. We're done. Like, you will not convince me that you could do anything better than this for the front of this book. So, and obviously we tweaked some things, add the little like shadows in the windows, and we messed with the logo in the middle a little bit, but I think we had the logo first. We had like this round logo with the sort of inverted red and green from the Turtles logo to sort of evoke the Turtles logo, with that little red banner. And so I think we had that logo first. And when he dropped that thing right in that curve, like sort of the spare tire on the front of the van, I'm like, oh my God, you just nailed it, buddy. So yeah, I'm so tickled at the work he did. It
does look great. Where did the name Rad Plastic come from? It just sounded right.
No, I actually went on a Facebook group and I said, I just am looking for names. Like, I don't know what I want to call this thing. You know, it's like, I want a really cool name, and I'll give props to my buddy, Justin Rolland. You know, people were listing names, and a lot of them like, oh, that's not very good, or that's too wordy, or whatever. And I don't know. It was like a few hours after I posted it, and I just saw Justin, and he said Rad Plastic, and I'm like, I am done. That's the name.
Great. Yeah.
Again, it's just like one of these things. It's like, you don't know it, but when you see it, it's right. And you know it will never get any better than that. It wasn't like this brainstorm thing where I had to take 10 names and pick the one. No, it was like, he said that, and I'm like, Rad Plastic. I'm like, damn, that is so perfect. So yeah, props to Justin. He doesn't get enough credit. He's always bugging me about, like, I gave you your name for the book. So, but yeah, he definitely deserves credit for that name. It's a really great name.
It is great. It works perfectly. And what else did I want to ask you about? One other thing that surprised me too was at the very end, like right in 1997, just before the Next Mutation figures came out, there was a whole line again of sports turtles that were like gonna hit. I was amazed because by then the line had kind of wound down. Yet here was these sketches for these last maybe one cool set of sports turtles that never saw light of day. Yeah,
and there was also like the police line too, the Enforcers.
Yes, that too. Yes,
that was late in the line. I don't remember if those were. I think those were the same year, but yeah. I mean, those just were sketches. They never went anywhere. It might be that you know, some of the design studios were just asked to go create a couple lines for us and see what you come up with, and they just went their own way. And one guy decided to do a sports line, another guy decided to do a police line. The police Enforcers line definitely went farther because I know that packaging designers were engaged in starting some logos and stuff for that line. So that one was definitely considered, I think, much deeper into the process than the sports figures were. The sports figures, I think, were just concept sketches, and that was it. But you're right. It was like, were they just, did they not know yet that it was declining enough and they thought they were still going to do a big release that year? I'm not sure.
Because like by 95 and 96, it was like just trickling out.
Right.
And then suddenly 97 looks like it was coming back again, then it didn't. So.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
It was welcome for me because I really like the Next Mutation toys. But did you wrestle with the decision of whether or not to include them?
No, I didn't. I know a lot of collectors sort of discount them from the line, but I'm like, you know, there was a break from basically 2000 to 2003, right? Like 1999 actually to 2003. Like no toys came out at all.
Yeah.
The Mutations were A, before that, and B, had 1 year, 1997, where they overlapped the regular line.
Yeah.
So I'm like, how, like, and you can't say, well, just because they're from a TV show. Well, so were some of the turtles from the movies.
Yeah.
So that was this different medium than the cartoon, right? So you had ones from the cartoon and the Archie comic books, and then you had the movies, and then there was a TV show. It's like, I don't understand why people don't include it, other than just, it's like the branding was sort of radically different, right? They really heavily went with that Next Mutation brand. But then there were other lines, like even earlier, like Warriors of Forgotten Sewer, like that is sort of its very own unique brand as well. So yeah, I don't understand why. Maybe there's a good reason I just don't get.
I think people just don't like that show, and the kind
that might be it.
But I mean, but I've always, I said this. I interviewed Kevin Eastman, and he's like, you can blame me for Next Mutation. But I was like, no. One of the cool things about that show is the toys for it were really cool. Like they had a great, like the basic set, a really cool set of toys. So.
Yeah. So and I really, you know, the one toy in there that you do hear people kind of talking about is the Dr. Queeze.
Yeah.
Because, you know, all we had for it was a couple little pictures. Like I think it was on a card back somewhere, and it was in the Toy Fair catalog, and that was it. So it's sort of this mythic figure, even though most people don't like the rest of that line. Dr. Queeze is the one that's sort of like, you know, they talk about, and it's sort of a horrific figure as well. But,
it's covered in blood.
But I'll give you a little secret there on, you know, if you look in the book, there's a full page spread of him.
Yes.
And oh man, I wanted so bad to get a full page spread, because for all the ones that were like completely unreleased, I really wanted a big, nice single page on the unreleased each one. and I could not find any pictures anywhere. Like there was the ones from the catalog, the one from the card back, nothing. I went and like bought every issue of, there's some toy magazines that were out back in the 90s, one called Action Figure Digest and one called Tomarts. And I went through and found everyone that had pictures of Toy Fair. I bought every issue. I looked through them trying to find a picture of Dr. Queese. And the best one I found was, I don't know, like 400 by 200 pixels. That was a Playmates internal photo. And it's actually, you can find it online, but it was clearly one taken by Playmates as part of the marketing process. But I don't know where it was ever used by them. But I'm like, man, this is the best I can find. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? So I started researching new technology for enhancing photos and upscaling photos and things like that. And I found this one that's like this advanced AI photo scaler. And I cranked that thing up from 200 by 400 pixels to something that was like, I don't know, 4,000 DPI or 4,000 by 4,000 DPI. And like, if you look at it close in the book, you can kind of tell that it's a little bit like image, but it looks fantastic. And probably if I hadn't told that story, probably no one would ever picked up on it. But it was just amazing that like the technology is there to take this little photo and blow it up to something that big and still have it look really, really good. So, that was funny. I remember the day I was playing with that and I was like, Chance, look at this. You won't believe this software could blow this thing up. And he's like, that's incredible. I can't believe it. So yeah, that was a fun one.
Sorry what you were talking about with the spreads, like how like you give a lot of real estate, and I'm glad you did, to like the toys that were never made versus like doing every single action figure and having either a book that's 1,000 pages or thousands of tiny pictures. I mean, did you kind of wrestle with that decision at all?
Well, I knew in design in general, I'm a big fan of open space. I don't like the designs to feel crowded.
Sure.
And so that's just a design aesthetic that I personally sort of have latched onto through my career. And, I'm an engineer, but being in the toy industry a lot, my career was heavily influenced by designers and aesthetics, right? Unlike, say, you're engineering a bridge or a vacuum cleaner or something, it's like not quite as design driven as a toy, right? Because it's all about the design. So I kind of got an appreciation for that pretty early on. And so I knew if I did it, like you said, I didn't want to do one image per page or two, because then the book would be like 800 pages. But I also knew that I needed some space. So what I tried to do is give it a good mix. So hopefully as you're going through it, you'll see some not crowded pages. I don't think any page is really crowded, but you'll see pages with several pictures on them. And then you'll hit a page that's like a big spread, a double spread with lots of space, I'm thinking of the page with the two Dino unreleased cardback artworks, right? You turn and you open that page and you're like, man, it's just two artworks there, a couple little other pictures, or the page with the Air Force construction ones where you pull open that spread and there's like the two big paintings, right? Yeah. And so it almost feels like, I've been a writer my whole life, and not just like this, but also fiction type stuff. I know like in that space, you always want to give your audience room to breathe and relax. So it's kind of that mentality, like, oh, you're flipping through it. Oh my God. Oh, wow. Look at this. I'm like, it's coming at you like a fire hose. And then you turn a page and you just, oh my God, I can just sit here and relax a second.
Yeah.
I can just breathe and just sit on this page. And then, oh, now I'm back at it again. It's kind of like an action movie. Like you get into it and then like, oh, you got to rest for a minute, because otherwise you just, your brain needs that break. So I kind of viewed it that way. Those pages, big spreads, would not only highlight the best pieces, but could also be that breathing space for the reader to just sort of pause there and just go, I can just look at this page for a while. It's not overwhelming me at all.
Yeah, it's cool too, because like I to be honest, I wasn't sure like if I was going to get the book at first, just because I wasn't like, I thought it might be like a book version of that that great website, the Ninja Turtles Museum. I'm sure you know of it, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's not that at all. Like, it really goes into the process really cool. It's a really good art book. And most of what I love the fact that you gave so much real estate to the toys that didn't come out, because it was like, oh, this is shit I didn't know about or barely knew about or whatever, versus like, a catalog of toys, most of which I own, right? Like,
right.
So like, it was cool to see, like, that was like when I started to see more of it. It was cool to see this is a really cool put together art book and not just a catalog of what was.
Yeah, that's the whole goal. It is an art book.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, as sort of geek culture has been on the rise over the last 10 or 15 years, right? Definitely. It's like as the generation that sort of were the geeks when they were in grade school, right? Starting probably in the late 70s with Star Wars and on through all the geek stuff of the 80s, right? When we were all kids in the 90s. But as those generations became adults, like, of course, geek culture is going to become viewed upon positively and not as this sort of negative connotation it had, because now we're the adults, so we control the narrative.
Yeah,
not the parents or the bullies that were ahead of us in school. So as that has moved forward, I think there is more and more of appreciation for some of these pop culture things as artwork. It kind of started with Andy Warhol a little bit, right? I mean, the whole Campbell's Soup thing and the Marilyn Monroe painting and et cetera. He kind of was a pioneer in like taking pop culture things and turning them into art. But this is a little different in that it was made it wasn't made to be art, right? It wasn't intended to be art like a painter would paint something that would go in an art gallery and be sold. But nonetheless, the artistry is there,
Oh, yeah.
Not everybody can pick up a scalpel and carve a piece of wax into something that looks fantastically beautiful.
Yeah.
Not everybody can, paint a painting of something for a packaging design that looks like that. So, I kind of like if it takes an artist to produce it, then it's art. So, but it's pop culture art. And I think that, the society is getting to the place where more and more people are appreciating that kind of art. I mean, you certainly see it in other toy lines. You see it in things like video game packaging art collecting or magazine cover, art collecting, things like that. That the ultimate goal of it wasn't to be a piece of artwork. It was a functional thing for whatever, marketing or selling something, but it is art in its own right. So yeah, it was always an art book. That's always what I wanted it to be.
Yeah, it's cool. It's not it mentions everything as like a nice guide, but it's not like a catalog of for even the most diehard Turtles fans, there's plenty of surprises in there. So like it's really cool.
Yeah. And like you said, there's that, the website that has pictures of everything with the
and that's great.
With the accessories. And somebody did a guy, I think his name is Jonathan Dollarop. He's out of somewhere I don't remember, Finland, Sweden, somewhere over there in that area, Denmark. He made a book just like that. I mean, with all the pictures of all of them. And, it's great. Like those kind of guides are great. They're very functional, right? They're something which accessory am I missing? Let me look him up and I can pick it out, right? They're very handy and very useful. But I wouldn't really call it a book of art. I mean, you could say that, the figures are art, but the purpose of it is a functional purpose to help collectors collect. So the purpose of mine is to highlight the artistry.
Cool. Yeah. Honestly, we're pretty much wrapped up. I just had a few questions for you, and you might not have answers for any of these, but I'm just curious if you stumbled across anything. One thing I've always been perplexed by was there any sort of coordination between the toys and the cartoon and the comics? Because it is all over the place. There's tons of characters in the toys that were never anywhere else. There's tons of characters from the comics and cartoon that never made it to toys. And lots of characters look different. So I'm curious, do you know of any sort of vague coordination?
Yeah. Especially early, there was lots of coordination. I don't know how long that lasted. I would guess by the time we got to 93, 94, there was much less of that happening. But yeah, early on, especially, there was tons of coordination between those. They would have, the guys at Mirage would come up with the character that they wanted to put in, especially the Archie comic was the one that really would inform the toys, because it was sort of the kids' comic book, right? They would come up with ideas and they would get to the cartoon, or the cartoon writers would need a character and they come up with an idea, and and have somebody sketch it up, and then it would go to Playmates. But as these things work, what might be necessary for the cartoon story or work well in a moving medium might not be great for a toy, or might not work in print medium, and vice versa, and all around. So, each place did what they needed to do for their own. And as they could cross-pollinate, they really did try to do that because, obviously for Playmates especially, if kids are seeing this on the cartoon screen, they want the toy of it, right? Or less so probably in the comic book, just because I think the comic book probably wasn't quite as popular with kids at the time as the cartoon was. Yeah. But even so, the comic book guys would be like, oh, I want to get the thing from the cartoon into my comic book, so I sell more comics. Or they're like, oh man, I really want to be the guy that designs a cartoon character, sort of the self-ego thing, right? And so it's like, well, I'm going to make some cool characters and try to get them into the cartoon, and then I'll put them in my comic too, and then I can say, see that I designed Ray Fillet, or whatever. And so they were all talking to each other. I mean, I've run across a lot of paperwork stuff that was faxed all over the place, and you'll see faxes going back and forth between Mirage and Playmates, and I know they were talking with the cartoon company as well. Some of the guys at Playmates told me specifically that was happening. So it definitely was, but in the end, they each had to do what was right for their segment. Sure. And if they overlapped, that was fantastic, and they loved it. And if it didn't quite work out, that was okay.
My one of my favorite toys as a kid, and still is Walkabout, and he never showed up anywhere. He was just like this cool kangaroo guy, but had no story and nothing to offer aside from cool toys. So.
Yeah, he's one of my favorites too.
It's a great design, and it's one of the few with like there's a few that have and he's one of them with like a little extra bit of articulation. Like there's also 2 or 3 characters with like ball jointed elbows, like Ace Duck and Magician Raphael, which like weirdly have way more articulation than other toys. Yeah, those always surprise me too. So, the Ninja Action line, the ones that look like the Mirage toys.
Right.
Did you find anything else about those? Because that always perplexed me. Is like they're the only kind of Mirage turtles we had up until NECA started making them, and they're cool.
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't find a whole lot about that line, honestly. Okay. That was one of the lines that I just didn't run across that much stuff for. As you can see in the book, I don't think there's much in the book on that particular line. But as far as you're right, it's the only one that they have like the triangular mouth and a little bit more, right? Turtles. Yeah. Yeah. And so I don't know where that came from or the genesis of them making them with that design aesthetic. So yeah, I don't have an answer for you there, unfortunately.
That's fine. Last weird question like that. Do you have any idea why they made the transforming Bebop white? Because that always drove me crazy.
Yeah, that one I haven't heard either. Okay. No clue. It's not even a question I thought to ask. So I didn't even realize until much later that was even I don't know. It just never struck me as oh, why is he white? I mean, it makes sense when somebody tells you, but until I was told, I was like, it never hit my brain. Sure. So as I was doing most of my research, I never even thought to ask the question because it never hit my mind that was odd. But yeah, it is odd. I didn't have the answer. I asked Hensey that question. He's like, he wouldn't know. It would be the marketing people that would know the answer to that. And maybe if I'm ever talking to some of them, I still get together with, especially when I'm out in LA, I'll get together with some people that I talk to. Cause some of them have become friends, they help so much and I just enjoy hanging around with them. So I'll go to dinner or something. And if I'm ever out there, maybe I'll ask, do you know anything about this? Come on, why did that happen? So
honestly, that wraps it up. I wanted to make sure that where to send people to get Rad Plastic is still available, right?
No, actually, I am sold out at the moment.
Oh, no. Okay.
So, but I will say this. There will absolutely be another printing at some point. I cannot tell you exactly when. Likely next year, i.e. 2020 sometime. Probably not in 2021. So if you want to keep abreast of what's going on and news and learning about info about a reprint as it comes up, I'm hoping to be able to announce something later this year, but probably won't be available until next year. But you can go, I've first my website, radplastic.com. You can go there. And also I've got, in lieu of the book right now, I do have some merchandise you can buy. There's like Rad Plastic shirts and some stickers, and a really cool design Chance Sanderson did that's sort of like a Mystery Machine Turtle Van mashup. It's a fantastic design. I love it. So you can go there to radplastic.com and check those out if you want to get a t-shirt or something in the meantime. But if you want to find out news about anything going on, new merchandise we're going to have, or the book reprint, Facebook page for Rad Plastic, just facebook.com/radplastic. Go there and just follow that page, and that'd be the best place to get all the news for when the reprint will be coming. I promise you there will be reprints. I just can't really talk about when just yet. That's cool. No, that's cool. And it's well deserved, because it's been again, this book is awesome. I'm glad. I was probably one of the later people to order it, so I'm really glad. The first print run was 1,200 copies, and I sold out in about 10 to 12 weeks. That's awesome. That's so fantastic. It was. I didn't expect that they would go that fast. So, it's been really well received, and I've been really happy. I was a little worried when I was doing it, like, oh man, are people just going to be disappointed? Because what they really want is that encyclopedia book, and that's what I was worried about. And I would say I was completely wrong. Again, that's people want an encyclopedia book as well, but they loved what I did with mine. So I've been really humbled by the kind comments from everybody in the community. So I really do appreciate that everybody loves it, and props to Chance Sanderson again, and Justin Rollin for the title. I'll give him props. And I should really mention my crew. My wife, Melinda, helped out with a lot of the research. And then my research crew, Gary Borbidge, Stephen Ward, and Matt George. Those are my buds. Through this whole process, probably became some of my maybe best lifelong friends in the world. And so those guys helped a ton. They were there along the whole way, going on trips, taking photos, visiting people, calling people, helping me find stuff, helping me do research. So, big shout out to those fellas, and my wife as well. Cool. Last question for you, and I ask this of everybody. Who's your favorite turtle and why? My favorite turtle, if I have to go with, you're talking now like character-wise, not action figure, right? Well, I was going to do like, who's your favorite, and then who's your favorite toy of that one, but I don't know. Answer it however you please. Okay, so I'll answer. So of the 4 turtles, I'm a Leo fan. Okay. 2 reasons. Number 1, just blue's my favorite color, which is a simple reason. Number 2, I don't know. I just sort of gravitate to the leader. Like, I don't. Maybe it's something in my personality just likes the leadership persona, I guess.